Finally back then. Season 2, episode 6, as I've been calling these on YouTube as they get posted. Which I think is just awesome. And somebody asked me on Twitter the other day why, and I said, well, because that's how WWE does Raw for the TV guide. So I like to keep it the same way. Yeah,
When
it's
you go
been.
on the Peacock, you can't just watch WrestleMania. You got to watch season 34, episode 1.
That's true. That's a good point. As we can see, we're joined by one of my other co-hosts. My other one's sleeping
Cameo.
on the floor. This is the one that's in charge of the house, and he's just staring off like the kid in Sixth Sense right now. So
Refusing to look at the
yeah,
camera.
yeah. He didn't sign the
He's a little
NDA.
shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little camera shy.
Yeah. Sure, that's it then. Yeah, he's my special one. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've been away on vacation, bounced back. SummerSlam occurred while we were gone. Um,
Yeah.
Overall, quick overview. What you think? What you love? What did you hate?
I don't think I hated anything. I thought it was a great show. I was
Agreed.
surprised at how many title changes, but I didn't have a problem with it. They don't really do that all too often.
Right. Right. And
Yeah, I don't think there was anything to critique, honestly.
so I think last pod I beat you in our choices
Yeah,
because you
I
had
think so.
Damien, Bailey, Liv, Cody, Knight, and Punk. I had Damien, Nia, Liv, Cody, Knight, and Punk. So, I only beat you by Nia. That was the only
Yeah.
one that we switched. Yeah, I just with her being back and with Bailey feeling like an intern champion, I thought for sure um, something was gonna happen. I think we both were right when it came to Cody or well, technically we were right on all three. We were right on what was gonna happen with Liv. We were right what was gonna happen with Cody and with Punk as well, right? Like we all kind of called it like there
Yeah,
was some type of
yeah. I mean,
interference.
that was up in the air for sure. I still thought Punk was going to win, but then
Yeah,
after it happened, I actually think it was better the way they did it.
yeah,
There's definitely more story to it. They can draw it out longer. I'm just surprised they didn't give him the win, or I remember saying I would have been surprised.
right,
Um, but that's the beauty of this sometimes. Like they do the semi unexpected where it's like, oh, could that really happen? And you go, yeah, maybe, but no. And then boom, it happens. And it's like, wow. And that's literally when he lost. I was sitting there watching it with Big J, who maybe someday will be a special guest. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he lost.
yeah. I thought
So
for
that's
sure.
when you know it's good. When you know it's good,
Well,
you
yeah,
know.
they've been hitting on everything, right? Like, and what? This is the second biggest pay per view of the year. Usually, I would say first being WrestleMania, then SummerSlam,
Yeah,
right?
I think SummerSlam is definitely their number two. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we could have got anything else from this that we might have wanted. Um,
No.
they hit everything. Um, I mean, Logan Paul once again. I think he's a terrible human being, but that like springboard moonsault he did was just shows you how much athleticism that kid has. That was insane. The way he just corkscrewed
Yeah.
himself off that. And they showed
How much that and how serious he takes the training to do it the
yeah,
way he
did you
does
see
it.
all
Like
the
it's crazy.
training clips? Like he is
Yeah.
drenched in sweat from trying this. Like he does put in the work. Like outside the ring, say what you want about him and all the stuff he gets in trouble for, but like when it comes time to put in the work, the kid has been putting in the work, and I feel like, um, that's one thing to definitely note. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of him, but it was just cool to see like all the time and energy he's been putting into the training because they've been putting out clips like here or there of everything he's done, and it looks sweet. It's good for him. So happy about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we said, winners were Gunther, Nia, Liv, Cody, Knight, Punk, or McIntyre. Um, I mean, it's awesome, right? Like, because with all those changes, there's so much story to tell now. Like, there is
Right.
so much to tell. Like, because now you get Gunther, um, Gunther and Orton to fix the whole his shoulder wasn't down thing. Um,
Hmm.
and though they're just two big dudes that you know are just gonna wail on each other, right? Like that's like if both of their chest and back are not pink 15 minutes into this or 10 minutes into that, I you know I will be highly surprised. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're just gonna take off on each other, and they should because that's what everybody wants to see from that one, right? Like just like we saw the last time, like two big dudes just pounding the piss out of each other. Um, yeah, I mean, so that's gonna be a Bash at Berlin. Um, I guess the big story from this was the OTC, the original tribal chief, the OG tribal chief returns. Um, thoughts on the new theme song? Because I was reading from a lot of people, and I asked a couple of people that were there. Shout out to Ella J. She drove down to Cleveland. Um, they were kind of confused with when that hit at first because they weren't used to the doom doom, and
Yeah.
then they
So
caught
it,
it
it's
when it went tribal chief on the screen. But it's a different start to it that they're like, oh, is this Zilla or is this such and such? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. It's just the beginning that's different, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
it's a duration of like that made you think like, okay, who are they
Yeah.
bringing out? But then it hits the original like tribal chief logo and everything, and then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, now this is what we came for. I mean, we pretty much called it. A lot of people pretty much called it, but still, that pop was insane, right? Just from what you saw
Oh
on
yeah.
TV.
Well, that's the other thing I was just about to say. I was going to say, to be honest, I didn't even realize he had a different theme because it's hard to hear it.
Yeah, yeah,
The couple of different clips I've watched, it's just been hard to hear. Like you can tell it's a little different to start, and then I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, is it the same after the start? But you really can't hear it with the crowd, you know. Um, and you definitely couldn't hear it at SummerSlam.
yeah. It's
So
yeah. I mean,
wild.
yeah, that would have been a show to go to, but we were at the beach, so I think it was time well spent. But yeah, I just get a kick out of
Yeah.
like how expected it was for him to return. That it almost wasn't like a surprise, but everybody still lost their mind when he returned, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Oh, of course. Well, and I mean, yeah, they just absolutely lost their mind. They've just been clamoring for it. You know, they liked, they just couldn't wait for it, right? And there's a few out there who have commented that maybe they should have waited a little longer just to kind of build even a tiny bit more anticipation. And I'm like, for what?
I don't think it, and
For what?
I think Bischoff said that on his podcast.
Bischoff said it. A couple people, in that space have said it. Bischoff, he did clarify in a more recent one that while he personally thinks they could have waited a little longer, he doesn't have an issue with the way they did it. He just wondered, and he's like, you don't know for sure, but he just wondered if you just teased it out a little bit longer, would would it even be that much bigger? And I don't know. I mean, I guess you could always say, "Well, always be a little bit bigger." The longer
Yeah,
you
I
wait,
mean,
because but also, what else are we doing here? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't
eh,
think it'd be bigger at Bash at Berlin. I I think
No,
I think
no,
that's an
no.
iconic thing for 2024 SummerSlam. For all the people that follow WWE day in and day out, like if they were at 2024 SummerSlam and they're telling their friends or their kids about it, they're gonna be, yeah, I was there the day that Roman came back and just ran shot put through the bloodline, right? Like that's the iconic thing of the day. Like just when like the Undertaker was just on that streak,
Yeah.
right? Like people always talk about. I was there when he was 18-0, 17-0, 16-0. Like it's iconic that like 2024 SummerSlam was the day that the Tribal Chief said, "Okay, enough with the crap. I'm coming back." I I personally like it now because there's been some sloppiness with the new Bloodline 2.0, and
Well, what's his face? Uh,
Tonga or Tama.
Tongaloa is just like botch city these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. But like, I like the fact this turns Solo into the hunted now, right? Because then it gives
mhm.
a different avenue for, like, okay, Solo versus Cody again. How many times are we gonna see this? But now it's okay, Sody versus Cody, maybe, or is Roman just gonna continue to run shot put through the whole bloodline, right? And then eventually, when are we getting Jacob versus Roman? Because that's what everybody wants to see, right? Like, I don't think people like if you sit down 50 WWE fans and you say Roman versus Solo or Roman versus Jacob, I mean, what do you think they're gonna ask for?
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
think it's
that's the one problem they have though,
yeah,
right? Because that's not the story.
no, but I don't think, and that's not a hit at Solo. I just think Solo being able to use Jacob, granted, if his foot is healthy, the walking boot and everything he was supposedly in. Who knows? Probably storyline, as we heard. Um, he can kind of use Jacob as okay, if you want me, you got to get through him now, right? And then it's like, okay, then that's a slow build to like what you called out in the last podcast of like Bloodline versus Bloodline, like the
Yeah.
OG versus Bloodline 2.0, or the new Bloodline or whatever they're calling themselves now, whatever. But like, I I think that had to happen at SummerSlam because it's such an iconic event that I think it takes away from it happening anywhere else if it doesn't happen there because of how big that event means to WWE, right?
Yep.
Like, and I think if that was at Bash at Berlin, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that would take away from Gunther and Randy. Like, I just feel like that would overshadow that. And if you're gonna give Gunther the path to go be the guy for that title, let him go be the guy. Like,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
because then that helps you down the line when you're like, all right, I already have 2 to 3 end of main event type matches we could put on. Who are we gonna do, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad he's back. It sucks that they had another loss in the family. I think that's the second one that they had this year with Alpha. Um, which R.I.P.
They
and
did because his dad died like a month
month ago,
ago.
right? Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
just terrible. That sucks. And when it gets reported, um, certain wrestling journalists should not go on Twitter and quote tweet everybody and tell them, "Oh no, he did not pass," when it already got reported 2 hours earlier. Um, just a word of advice for Uncle Dave and Brian Alvarez, because that's kind of disrespectful to the family. And once again, I'm not surprised. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good card overall, right? Like they continued to put the best out
Mhm.
there. Um, and I had to watch it from an iPad and slash an iPhone because we had a little bit of a sleep regression problem going on vacation. But I didn't catch any botches. Did you? Was there any crazy botches that you caught? I think this is
Um, no, I don't remember any. At least, no.
so this is the first clean card in a while then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I at least I can't remember any.
Which kind of sucks that Damien has his first clean card in a while and he drops the title. Like that's kind of brutal, right? Like, well, because like his
Yeah, but
t- title defenses before, right, have been kind of sloppy based on things he's trying to do, right? Like the body was either too tired or he just shouldn't. Um, you know, yeah. I mean, and we got to see Aaron Anderson for a bit.
mhm. Give a little pep talk. I was waiting to see if he did the bring out the Glock, but he didn't. So that's
Yeah,
good. He
yes,
kept it a little PG.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Until they go to Netflix, then he's just gonna bring out an AR-15, and then he's gonna be like, "Let's party." Um,
Oh, there was. I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure.
yeah.
There was one. There was one very like noticeable botch, but it was done by Tongaloa.
Oh,
So
so yeah, so that goes with the personality
he went to hit like he went to basically not really
in
spear
the
Cody, but he was
ropes,
supposed to
right?
kind of like spear him to the ropes, and he completely like missed the corner, and it looked terrible. But like he's been,
Do you
I feel bad for him because I don't think he's that bad. Like I think he's just had a really rough go.
do you think it's just the adrenaline and like a WWE event probably being too big for them? I mean, they came from Japan, right? So they've been in the Tokyo Dome for a number of years. So it's not like they're not
Yeah,
used to big events, but do you think it's just the WWE like atmosphere that surrounds it all?
I wondered if it was something like that. Like this is just such a bigger stage in general, but I don't know. Because you're right, like Tokyo Dome's pretty big deal too, and he's been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
It's not like he's new.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just the big stage. I don't know. Maybe he can't. Maybe his depth perception's off with that eye patch they got him
Oh
wearing.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, the
You know.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's a problem. Like he's misjudging it with only one eye. Like which could be legitimate, right? Like
No, yeah. I mean,
you know.
if you're trying to do things at full speed and like this is all you see, like you could definitely screw something up easily. Yeah, he just goes back there after the batch and says, "Hunter, you got to give me back that eye. Please give me back that eye." Like that'll be
Right.
hysterical. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So it like, granted, I had to, like I said, watch it from my phone and an iPad, so I didn't get to like really get into the crowd, but it looked great and everything I read and like watched it twice just to get that aspect of it. Like even though like and even when you rewatch it, it kind of dies down a bit, right? Because you know it's gonna happen when you saw it, whatever. But just to see how involved the crowd was, it was great. Um, and it was just cool to see like as much as I hate the city of Cleveland, it was just cool to see like a Northeast get that type of big pay per view, right? Like not like Backlash or like NXT Summer Heat or something like that. Like SummerSlam is in an outdoor stadium. Like that's sweet. Like it's um yeah, I mean so yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about the bloodline again later on. But yeah, so what do you think about Gunther and Orton? You think it's gonna pay off big time? What do you think's gonna happen? You think Drew's gonna get involved?
I don't know if Drew's gonna get involved because I still think they're building a match for him and Punk. So again, that might be on that show. So I don't know if he's gonna get involved or I guess it depends. If he doesn't have a match, then yes, I could see him getting involved somehow. If he does have a match, then I'm not sure. But I think Orton's gonna lose. I actually think it'll be clean. Um,
I do too.
I think they're gonna give Gunther, you know, that win in Berlin, and like do and have him have a moment there. Um, I think they'll do it pretty clean because those two should put on a really good match, so it doesn't need to have like a screwy finish.
No, I agree. And I don't think a loss really hurts Orton here. I know a lot of people think like it could do something to slightly hurt his legacy. There's no way in hell I believe that. He's still Randy
Right.
Orton, right? Like he's
Yep.
eventually gonna get like a shot at the title where he like gets closer, right? Like they're gonna give it to him just because he's been a lifelong, like even through all the demons and everything he's had, he still stayed WWE true and true, right? And I'm sure he probably had offers to go all over the place, like, and he just signed a long-term contract, I believe, as well. So he's all
Yeah, I thought I saw
set it
that
up.
too. 3 years,
Yeah.
3 years, I think.
So
Yep.
I mean,
He's
um,
got time.
and that's the. I mean, if you're gonna get a rub from anybody in the business, I don't know if there's anybody. I mean, maybe 2 to 3 people that you put in front of Orton, if that, right now. Like maybe if Cena came
Right.
back, Roman right now because he's white hot. I mean, I don't know who else you would get that from, right? That could like give you that big of a push, unless like
Yeah.
Triple H put the boots back on and came out there. Other than that, like I really don't know who you put above those three. Um, I mean, have you come around on Gunther? I know you weren't a big fan at the beginning, but what do you think
Yeah,
so far?
I mean, I think it's good. I'm still not like that big of a fan, to be honest, but I, it's not that I don't like him. I don't know. He just doesn't do a lot for me, but
Yeah.
he's a very good, I mean, he's a very good wrestler, right? Like his matches are always really good. He beats the crap out of people.
Yes.
Um, so it's not that I don't like watching him, but he just doesn't do a lot for me. But
I get it.
I don't have a problem with what they're doing with him either. So
Yeah.
I mean, it is fun to watch his matches for sure.
Y-
Like when you want just like a very like good classic
Straight to the point.
heavy
Yep.
heavy like hitting wrestling match and not super technical but not untechnical either, right? There's some technical to it, there's some power to it, and just some all out brawling for a little bit, but it's never crazy. It's always very clean. So, there's always a good spot for that on a card.
Yeah,
So,
and I love when they take the pictures afterwards and the guy's chest is just like ripped open pink.
oh yeah.
And it's like that's
Oh
just
yeah.
from the side of his hand, right? Like that's just from like this constantly. So like the amount of force he throws into that, the way he like kind of extends you out there and then brings you he just annihilates people. Real quick, I saw that we forgot to pick the Braun and Sammy batch for our choices.
Yeah, I don't know how we missed
Yeah.
doing that.
I mean, what's your thoughts on Braun
I
taking that? Because then they had a follow up on Raw, 2 out of 3,
two out
which
of three.
I was very surprised they brought that type of thing back to a Raw card just because it's been forever, I think, since we saw a 2 out of 3 pinfalls type match. But it's cool
I
that
think
they're
I think they
going
did
back.
it because it was nearly a squash, right?
Yeah,
Like it wasn't exactly a squash, but it was what like 4 minutes, I think, like
yeah, something like that.
4 minute match.
Yeah, I think
And
Sean
I
Ross
mean, he
had.
beat the hell out of him.
I think Sean Ross said 10. I think in his preview card, like he thought it was going to be at least 10. I think. But yeah, I mean,
Definitely wasn't that.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we're finally going to see if Braun's ready, right?
Oh, 5 minutes,
5 minutes.
5 minutes and 40 seconds. Yeah.
I think we're.
Yeah,
I mean, right?
we'll
They're all
see.
in
Yeah,
finally. Or
yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see because he's another one that just doesn't really do much for me. It has been interesting to watch him, and he certainly like. I mean, that
right?
was. I mean, he beat the hell out of Sammy with some of that stuff. So, um,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, to me, he's what we wanted athletically from Goldberg that we never got. That's how I feel him. Like he's what
mhm.
we thought Goldberg could develop into, being able to do everything in the ring like he can, like jump on the top rope, come off the top rope, do everything outside the ropes. Did you see the Braun and Sammy match at all on Monday night?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see when he threw him like a dart into that wall?
Oh, into the chair
Y- Yeah,
over the
yeah,
timekeepers thing. Yeah, I thought he broke his neck. I thought he snapped his neck. The way he hit, I was like, I can't believe they even like were willing to try that because 6 inches the wrong way, and that's
bro,
direct head on, like right, like, and he hit that chair, and like, how do you know how that's gonna like? I mean, that was wild. It was absolutely wild.
bro, it is, and he's supposed.
It reminded me about that Jack Perry Marco stunt thing where he threw him into the turnbuckle like a dart. Um, and I thought he broke that guy's neck too because like he hit that turnbuckle and his head snapped, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, or I thought about when Finn took that shot into the wall, right, and just broke his clavicle into pieces, and he had to drop the title. Like
Oh yeah,
when
but that, yeah, like
when Finn had the
it was like a
undisputed belt.
buckle bomb,
Yeah,
right?
but
Yeah, no, that was wild. I don't know if that was like planned to be quite like that, or if that was like if he was supposed to dump him a little bit more. I don't know. I mean,
d-
I don't know.
do you think Braun is 6 feet tall? He doesn't seem look 6 feet tall,
No,
and he
no,
the amount of force he just throws humans with, right? Like he uses actual grown men that are taller than him as actual wrestle buddies, like we had growing up.
yeah,
Like
yeah, the
he's
pillows.
throwing people in the air, like catching them, doing whatever. Like honestly, like we're eventually gonna get that Braun Gunther for a title, right? Like it's gonna happen.
I would assume so. Yeah.
And then it's like
I mean,
how many ambulances do you keep on the vicinity then? Like, because they might destroy each other, right?
yeah.
Like that's like, and I know Gunther probably has like a foot and a half on him, but still, like the way that Braun, I think back if he said on his show when it when he had Braun on coming off the ropes, WWE has measured Braun at 24 miles per hour. That little sprint thing off the ropes. He's hit 24 coming off for that impact in that short period of just right because it looks a lot bigger on TV than it is an actual person, as we know. Um, as I took my bump, and as our one friend got scared of a small ring, but that's a different podcast for a different day. Um, but yeah, man,
A
it's
very small ring.
a very yeah with duct tape, because he thought it was gonna be a brand new place. Anyways,
Duct tape and toe straps,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, moving on. Where do you? So what do you think about? So I did. I believe I texted you this the night of SummerSlam. It looks like we're probably gonna get Damian and Rhea versus Dom and Liv. I don't know if that's been officially announced, but I see that's been floating on a couple of. I saw it on CBS Sports for Brash Berlin. Sean Ross, I believe, was talking about it on his like after show podcast, or somebody was. What do you think about that storyline? Do you think that's finally paying off? You think she's gonna eventually drop to?
I think that match has been made official now.
Oh, it has been. Okay.
I think it was made official on Raw.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah. I'm all for it.
yeah.
That's gonna be sweet. Um, I mean, you like that storyline?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Do you see what
It's great.
they're supposedly training or changing Judgment Day's name to?
No, I didn't see that. I thought they were staying just the Judgment Day because the other two are the Terror Twins.
It will add the phrase "street trash" to their gimmick
The Street Trash Judgment Day.
or Judgment Day Street Trash. It's just being added to the gimmick.
Oh,
There's no say on like how it's gonna be like incorporated. I'm thinking with that type of I don't know phrase, maybe that's just for apparel. I would hope it's just for apparel. But then at the same time, are you giving Gunther 50% of the credit for that? Because that's what he called Damien on like 2 or 3 back-to-back Raws, right? So it's like
yeah.
you're just gonna say, "Hey, Gunther, here's a check for creative." Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't know. It just or I mean, you're better off just having Pat McAfee just keep calling them like a bunch of scumbags, right? Like, because he calls Sheamus what a big old bastard or something. Or
Yeah.
no, he calls
Yeah.
Braun
Old
that, right?
bastard.
Or a big SOB or something. He
I think
calls,
he calls. I think he calls Sheamus a bastard or something like one of the two.
yeah.
I think it's Sheamus.
So it's like,
He called Dom a dude wipe after you've wiped.
yeah, I love that. Yeah. Oh, he calls
Uh,
Braun one big white son of a bitch. That's what he calls him. So like, you can fit in like um the scumbag faction through McAfee just like that, right? Because he says
yeah.
crazy stuff all the time, so people expect that. Like, I don't really think you have to throw that into like a title for him or anything. Like, if you want to put it on a couple of shirts for Dom because of that 70s porn star stash he has going on, sure, it'll fit. But you put that somewhere for Carlito, I don't see it. You put that somewhere for JD, I don't see it. I mean, I think now though with Finn in charge, you let Finn bring back the demon. What do you think?
Oh yeah.
Right? You just
It's been forever since we've seen that.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I enjoy it. How long you think this is gonna go on for? Do you think this whole Rhea and Liv thing is gonna go on forever here, or
I think it'd go on for a few months for sure. I don't necessarily see how they end it yet,
I
but
don't
I
either.
think it'll
But
go on for a few months.
yeah, I'm just afraid of it getting stale, right? Because then if it gets stale, I feel like it drastically affects Judgment Day or Street Trash or whatever you want to call them. Like I feel like it's because I know Finn can really bring a storyline, um,
Yeah.
but like Dom needs a counterpart to build off of. Like he had his dad when they were fighting all the time. Then they introduced Rhea and him beating up his dad, and now they introduced Liv and Dom finally beating his dad. So like it seems like Dom has always had to be like e- either second fiddle or he brings somebody along with him. Um, I am predicting we see Finn get a push into a heavyweight champion type batch with him being now in charge of whatever this is called. I think this is why they're doing that, right? And I think we see Damien maybe get put out hurt or it steps back a little bit. Um, I don't see much use unless it's just going to be him and Rhea sticking together and he's like her bodyguard for a while, right? Like she's Sean and
Yeah.
he's Ket and he's Diesel. Like that's kind of how I see them right now. I don't see anything
Yeah.
else coming out of that. Do you at all?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's still good. It's still kind of hysterical that every reporter has to continue to ask him how his wife feels about this storyline at home, and he's put out at least half a dozen articles that she doesn't care. She knows this pays the bills. So like, you know what I mean? Like, which is hysterical. He has to like deal with it like it is an actual side chick. Um, but yeah, I mean, Brawl was good, and then we saw the past SmackDown. We saw Roman coming back and basically running through Solo and whatever when he called him out. So that's hitting on all cylinders. Um, I mean, they can't do any wrong again, Dan. Like everything is gold they touch, huh? Like
These days, these days,
Jesus, it's
and
like
there's still just a lot to
yes,
come of it,
yes,
right? There's still so much more that we're gonna get that we know we're gonna get. We're gonna get this bloodline thing. We're gonna get, um, you know, we're gonna get Punk and Seth at some point, which I'm sure they'll do multiple matches out of that are gonna be good, right? Like that story's gonna be good. You've still got um Cena coming back for a
yeah.
year, right? Like
And The
that's just kind
Rock.
of hovering, right? And that's just kind of hovering in the background, right? And I actually, this is fantasy booking, but I saw this like,
Oh, that's perfect
whatever.
because I wanted to do a part of that of the show. So let's
Oh,
go.
okay.
Let's jump to it.
Okay. So the fantasy booking with it's not my idea. I saw it
Yeah.
online and I thought that could be great. Was actually that there'll be three factions of Bloodline, with The Rock having a faction, Solo having a faction, and Roman having a faction, which Romans would be Roman, the Usos, and Sammy. Solo would be um the three he's got now, and then Rock would have Zilla and the other one, the giant fucking guy,
Oh, the one that
Herculeo,
yeah, that
Herculo.
yep, yep.
Um, and then I forget the third guy they put in there, but it was another Fatu, I think. And there could be like a three faction war, civil war with the bloodline, because the Rock will come in and be like, no, no, I was the final boss. Like, none of you have claim to what I've always had claim to. Um,
Yeah.
so for fantasy booking, I saw that idea and I was like, "Oh, sign me up for that!" Like,
Well, was it the
100% sign me up for that.
graphic that had like all
Yeah,
three? Yeah. I believe we saw the same thing. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
that's ideal, right? And it's
Hmm.
just so then the thing is for Roman to get Sammy away from taking these losses to Braun, do you put him back with the OG bloodline?
I guess they might. I mean, when you look at it, like if Roman's bloodline is the Usos and Sammy, like it just gives you that feel of the original
Yeah.
bloodline, right? Like obviously, technically Solo was in on that, but like you can't have Solo, so it does give you that feel. The crowd would go wild for it, right? Like you'd sell millions of more Sammy Uso shirts, basically, or honorary Us
With
shirts,
the duct tape?
and
Yep.
yeah,
Hell
and you'd
yeah.
bring them all back, you know. So it'd be a ton of fun. I mean, I'm sure there's another couple Samoans out there they could use if they wanted, but um that would be very feel good to do it that way, because obviously Roman's bloodline is going to be a babyface bloodline for
Yes. It
sure,
has
right?
to be.
So yeah, so bringing Sammy in would really tie that off very nicely. Um,
Yeah.
and then the idea of Jay and Jimmy reuniting, and Jay's still just such a hot baby face too. So
Well, and then all of a
um
sudden you hear that dun, dun, and then the tribal chief shows up on the Tron, and then all of a sudden you don't see him, but you hear, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is." The
mhm,
roof would explode, right? Like just
yeah.
explode. Like bringing Paul out to bring out the bloodline. It's like
Oh
printing
yeah.
money, printing
Oh yeah.
money. They would fix the economy that night, Dan. That's how much merchandise would get sold. Like it'd be insane, right? Like that. So that's technically the fantasy thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Because did you see the part of that? I think that came along was the long term storytelling when they showed it. What was it when the bloodline was in? What are they? War games, right?
Hmm.
And they all put their finger up but Solo was the only one that was staring away, like, and he looked pissed that like they actually won because of Sammy. So like right there, it started the fact that like Solo didn't agree, and I'm like, God, they hit on everything. But you don't notice the small things until it comes full circle, and then somebody shows a screenshot, and you're like, oh yeah, that did happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just like
Yeah.
you don't process it fast enough to
Well,
catch
and
everything,
and
right?
it's harder to remember now because also that was always just Solo, right? Like he
Yes,
always had a pissed look on his face. That was back when he doesn't talk, you
right.
know, right? Like so yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find.
Are they doing did they do it? I guess they're doing a 10 bell salute maybe for Alpha.
Yeah, they should, right? Like,
Yeah, I think they just did. Or they're
deserves it.
doing a little package right now.
Deserves it. Yeah, that's terrible, man. His father, then his uncle, within a month of each other. It's wild. That is wild. Um, let me see here. Here, I just sent it to you. That one. And I'm like, oh, this ties it all together. Like, this legitimately ties it all together.
Yeah, yeah, but like you said, that was how he always
No,
looked back
right.
then.
But, like, it just, you know what I mean?
You
It
know?
just,
Yeah.
like, if
Yeah.
it fit, and you see Roman staring down at him, like, why is he not, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh,
Yep.
okay. Wow. I can't process
Yeah.
this fast enough for how good it is. Um, yeah, I mean, so like I don't know, like oh, and of course, last but not least from the WWE side of things, the rejuvenation of Otis. I mean, he's back, baby. He's doing the worm.
He is back.
He is
He is
the
back.
crowd's loving him, and he just went to challenge for was it the US NXT title, so he's getting a shot down there, and then he's coming back and he's working Monday nights like a pro. Like he's putting in the work, right? Like
Yeah.
we got Otis back.
Yeah.
The world is good, Dan. You know what I mean? That's what's gonna solve world peace. We just send Otis wherever we want him to go, and he just does the worm because that's awesome. He just looks happy in the ring, right? He
Oh
just
yeah.
looks like he's smoother. He just looks like he feels more of himself. Like he just feels like it's better. Like and it's awesome. It's just good to see him like just pick dudes up, just kind of like Braun, and just impales them into the ring, and you just watch like their soul just leave their body. Like he's so good. He's so good when he just gets to be himself in there, and it's just awesome to see. Um,
Yeah.
Before we jump to AEW, I just had one question I wanted to pick your brain on.
Okay.
How far out do you think Seth is with what happened? And if anybody didn't catch it, he took 5 of the splashes from Bronson Reed, right?
I think 6. Yeah.
5 or 6, and they said he was bleeding. Um, so I mean, what what's your thoughts on that, real quick, just to tie up the WWE or however long you want? But yeah, I just didn't want to forget that because I think that's pivotal to what we're gonna see with this Punk and Drew stuff, right? Like, because that's gonna, I mean, to me, that feels like Punk and Drew is gonna go on for a while, correct? If he's out,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen like what exactly it is or if it's just this continuing lingering stuff because he never really like got surgery, right? Like on his knee
that's
or
true.
or his back or anything. So I just like if they're truly just gonna let him, try to rehab, like it's gonna be a few months, I think, at least.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's a wild way to go out, though. Like take 6 of those splashes from Bronson Reed. Like they couldn't do it.
Very very smart the way they did it though, because they
Yeah.
just gave like Bronson Reed this crazy little rub
Yep.
for no reason, or not no reason, but I mean without any kind of like story. They didn't have a rhyme or reason on why he attacked Seth, but they didn't need one, right? Like he just was quote unquote making a statement because that's what Adam Pearce had told him. Like he needed to make a statement. Okay, I'll go out and surprise Seth Rollins and splash him 6 times, and here I am, and now he's written out, which is fine. That's what they wanted, and here we go.
So to build off of that real quick, just to further pick your brain, you ever follow Cage Side Seats? Um,
Yeah.
so they have like rumors for the day. So this was technically posted yesterday. And they have one that says a WWE source told PW Insider to not to be surprised if WWE doesn't start a program between Punk and Rollins until 2025. And that's both
Okay.
because Punk and Drew feud will continue at Bash in Berlin and possibly beyond, and because WWE is at quote a much better level now in terms of laying out long-term plans. So,
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, so taking that, do you think it's just time off to get healthy, or just time off because, like this insider said, they're just, I mean, they're unstoppable now, right?
They are unstoppable.
Like it's weird to say they don't actually need Seth Rollins right now. Like for instance, the TV says it's the 36 TV sellout and the 56 consecutive like show sellout, I believe. So, I mean, like
Yep.
did you ever think we would get to the day of like we would be like, yeah, WWE doesn't need Seth Rollins right now. Just let him get healthy. That's wild.
Yeah. No, probably not. Right. Like just because he's been so integral for so many years in their stories. Um.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Um and then one final thing as I'm bad following my notes. Uh KO forced to fight Cody at Bash at Berlin. Do you think it's going to be good or bad?
Oh, I think it'll be good. Um.
You think he
I think it'll
drops?
be fine. No,
Yeah, I don't think he
no.
drops at KO either. Is this just to put KO back in the limelight?
Yeah, it might be. It's just kind of like it's probably because they don't want to take a spotlight off of Gunther.
Yeah.
So they give Cody a kind of random match that they could tie together with, oh, you deserve a shot. You've had my back. And so I'll give you a
Yep.
shot just for the hell of it. They know it'll be a good match, but it doesn't have to be the best match on the card,
Right.
right? It's probably not going to be the main event.
No, I don't think so
So,
either. Correct. You're right.
so, you know, if it might be the first match. Um, and it'll be a good match, and KO is popular, and that's not changing. So, um, I think it's just kind of a blow off match for the hell of it,
Yeah, I agree.
because they already teased the idea of Roman getting another shot too.
Oh yeah,
Which might not be for months anyway, but you know,
yeah, but you kind of had to think. I, I think we both talked about like whenever he came back, like he got a shot, right? Like there's no way that they kind of siloed Cody away from Roman, because then I think it would just tarnish what Cody has done so far with the title, right? Like I think like Cody was always eventually gonna have to see Roman again for the belt, right? Like it's just
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's good, right? I have this theory I've been thinking of lately that this is kind of a way just to shine the light back on KO, because I think KO is eventually going to be in a feud with Gunther. Um, and I think this just kind of helps of like, okay, it makes KO, not that you have to make KO respectable, but I think it just helps give them that little bit extra. Okay, well, KO took Cody to the brink of it. Let's see if he can get it done against Gunther, right? Like I feel like it's just a way for them just to add another tool in the belt of, well, if we ever need to go Gunther versus KO on an open challenge, because Gunther always likes to do that. Like this will make sense, and this will just help, be the third or second batch on a card, right? Like you don't have to do anything special
Right.
for it. Both guys will tell a good story. It'll be good in the ring. You won't have to worry about any botches. Both guys will beat the piss out of each other. Like it's just gonna be good. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like we said, like I feel like I just keep repeating everything we say on the prior podcast, but once again, they can't do any wrong. Like, like cannot do any wrong, and it's just I don't know. So to switch gears. AEW. AEW. What's your thoughts on how it's been? Have you been paying attention? Have you been following just on the internet, watching any of the cards? Nothing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, on Twitter, I've been,
Yeah.
or X, I've been catching up, whatever, but I haven't watched a show. I haven't had a reason to watch a show. That's been the problem for
Yeah.
me. I'm not interested in most of what they're doing, and like to a degree, some of it every once in a while sounds like, oh, maybe that match will be good, or like I do want to see what MJF's doing. But I can catch those 3-minute clips on X and then not spend 2 hours waiting for that 3-minute clip that I care to see. They just don't have anything compelling.
Yeah. I mean,
Now,
yeah.
if they bring Shane in, then I'll watch to see.
Yeah. But then when does that run flat?
Depends on what they do with it, right? And it's whether or not they can capitalize, which they generally haven't been able to, but
What would you do with it?
in theory,
Hypothetically, if you're Tony Khan, you just got done ripping that 8 ball in some hotel with the Jaguar players, and you're ready to go. What would you do with Shane? Cause other,
I think
yeah,
I think you have to have Shane come in to be this like I'm trying to take over, right? Because it's just his character, it's just his history, it's his name, it's everything. I don't see any other way to spin it other than this is a hostile takeover led by Shane McMahon.
so does Shane bring
Um,
his guys?
he could bring some guys, he could recruit some guys that are already there that have ties, right? Like he could do a little bit of I mean, if you do it right, he's going to do a little bit of both,
Yeah,
right? He's going to bring some guys, he's going to whatever. Um, so that's what I think you have to do. Like you can't bring him in and be like, "Oh, he's here to help, he's the general manager of Dynamite," right? Like no. No. That's dumb. Like, and I don't know, like, he loves to wrestle. He loves to get back in the ring, so like he's probably going to get back in the ring again at some point, but I think you bring him in and it has to be the hostile takeover. Um Now you have to find the right way to do that because it's been done so many times. Um, but that's what I do. And you let him create structure for that because that's where they lack so much is structure and story. So you let him create that structure and story and go with it and see what happens.
do you let Shane create it or you let Tony create it?
No, Shane.
Do you think it's tough that you think it's tough for them to create a consistent story for Shane since they don't have writers for Shane to work with? Like, do you think Shane could do this himself?
Um, I generally think yes. just because he's been so ingrained in the business for so long.
Right, it's probably
I
second
also
nature.
think he could hopefully convince. I mean, they have made some changes. I know they don't have like a full writing staff, but they have brought in people to help build creative,
Yeah,
right? So I think Shane could help push that along a little bit too to say, look, you've got to get into a little bit better structure, which means bringing in some writers, which you can still edit what the writers do, but let them give you a foundation and then just tweak it. Just like, and I mean, the stories of Vince was more like he was ripping it up all the time. But
yeah,
in theory, like you could do that. Like let them present it to you and then rip it up, or tweak it. So I think Shane could maybe he could convince Tony to do that a little bit. Um, so you'd probably see some, you know.
yeah, yeah. I just get worried because of all the quotes I see coming out recently from Mark Henry. Um, in regard to like AEW, like he's worried they're not doing everything they could do to get it all together, and he feels like they're not going to do as good as they can because they're not getting everything together. And then basically he comes out and says Punk was the problem. He says now you can freely go and there will be no more complaining. There should be no more complaining. The problem is gone. That was kind of weird from him. I never thought I would hear that from him, but he said like there's people are gonna say some negative things about Tony and the way that he communicates, but he said I was able to communicate with Tony. So like that's those like just like everything I follow like because I've been like you as well. Like I've been following AEW on Twitter. I haven't been able to follow um AEW as much as like I would probably want to just sit down and watch. Like they're on tonight, so I'll probably turn it on tonight if we don't run into any sleep regression problems. But I mean, it's like I'll check it out because it's wrestling, right? Like I'll always sit down to watch wrestling. Like I told you before, like if I could get the TNA channel added to my package without paying an extra $20 a month, I would watch TNA all the time. Like I just would.
Right.
Like it's like just the way that some people go back and watch old NBA games. Like I will always sit down and watch wrestling because I can always throw something on the screens and do something else while it's on. But I mean, yeah, I I think Shane would help too to get them a buzz to get some bumps. Um, do you have the numbers handy from Wrestle Up and Domex for what they did this past week?
Yeah. So they did. Let's see right here. Oh, let me scroll back up. They did 703 average, 0.23 in the demo. Number one for the day on cable in the demo.
Yep.
Up 13% from the prior week, right on par with the trailing 4 weeks, and but down
Oh no.
uh, in the demo. They were up 20% in the demo from last week, the week prior.
Okay.
So uh, they're still down year over year, but they're up. They're climbing up a little bit. They based on the quarter hour breakdown, they started with 836, but they only ended with 600.
Yeah. And that was
And
for
they
the
just
14th, correct?
consistently, yeah.
Yeah.
So they just consistently went down. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like I feel like that's the equivalent to what we're we're doing. Like people are tuning in, but you know, they're not really staying,
they're just
right?
not. they're right. Well, they're just not growing their audience,
Yeah.
right? Like 700, 7 to 900,000 is pretty much just the people that watch them most of the
Yep.
time. And and there's 100 to 200,000 in there somewhere that sometimes watch and sometimes don't. But they have a pretty like solid, pretty consistent 6 to 700,000 that they're gonna get on Dynamite every week. Um, so yeah, I don't know. They just
Yeah. I mean, this past week they had Takira Shida versus Mercedes Bonet. Obviously, Mercedes was gonna retain the title. We had a Britt Baker DMD promo afterwards. Um, I believe. Then we had Tangman Page versus Jay Lethal. You have Tangman Page winning by doing the buckshot. Pac comes out, shoots a promo. He's pissed about the International Championship, but in reality, he gets the winner of that match 2 weeks later at All Out. Um, and then Darby cuts the promo. Jungle Boy's involved. So I don't know. And then you have Kyle O'Reilly versus Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. You have Orange Cassidy taking the win. I saw part of this one as I was flipping through. So he gets the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet. Um, and then there was a face to face between Claudio and Okada. That really doesn't do anything for me. Orange Cassidy getting the W. I'm all in. I'll still stay all in on Orange Cassidy. Uh, I would like to see the Darby get somewhat of a let's see what he can do, and it's not really. I don't really care about does Darby versus Jack Perry do anything for you?
no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same here. We're on the same page. I mean, it could be that we're both old, but I just don't. I would rather have Darby get the push with somebody else than the scapegoat, and I think it's more on Jack Perry than it is on Darby. Um, and then yeah, Christian Cage was out talking about the number one contenders match. I mean, it's just I don't know. And then you had the Acclaim versus the Bucks. The Bucks won because of disqualification. Surprise, surprise. Then you had Swerve versus Yuta, where the ref had to stop the match. Um, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Swerve, like, and it's sad because I was so pumped with Swerve getting the title, and now I'm kind of like, okay, cool. Like, it's sad, right? Like, and then here you want to go through the reported all in card, and then you can tell me what you think.
Yeah.
All right, so in no particular order, we're just gonna go top to bottom here. AEW World Championship, Swerve versus Brian Danielson. What do you think happens?
Swerve wins. I mean, Daniel Bryan's or Brian Danielson has been queued up to retire. He's working this match, not even on a contract, right? Like it's going to be his last match, I think. I think it's going to be his retirement match. I mean, unless they pull some crazy stuff where he wins and then like literally vacates the next day, maybe just to give him a moment, because they are playing into a little bit of he hasn't won a championship in
Yeah.
AEW, but I don't know, maybe they do that to send him out like that and then he, vacates or retires with the belt and they, vacate it on him or something. So
All right.
I don't know, but they might just he might. I mean, he's pretty old school. He'll probably just run it as a real retirement match.
Yeah.
This is my last match, and I don't have to win. Like it's career versus title.
How bloody you think it gets? Because I think that's how he goes out, especially with Swerve. Do you think it gets bloody?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I actually wasn't thinking that it would. He just did a bloody match with Jeff Jarrett, right? Like he's been kind of going through. I forget
Yeah.
who I was listening to. Somebody I was listening. Oh, I think it was Conrad that said it, but I forget on which of his podcasts. Where he kind of thought Brian was going through and doing a lot of like certain types of matches because this was his last run.
To like just check it
And he
off.
did, yeah, and he kind of did like an old school Mid South, like no DQ match with Jeff Jarrett,
Yeah.
right? In Nashville, right? And it
Yeah.
just kind of made sense. So, and he's been doing a couple other types and things like that. So this could just be like a classic match.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what I was originally thinking.
Yeah, I think Swerve pertains to, and yeah, 100% agree with what you said. I mean, just for the sake of his health, right? Like some of these matches, he's taking blows he shouldn't be taking with all the problems that we know he has. But after that, like I said, in no particular order, we have the Women's World Championship, Tony Storm versus Maria May. I think Tony retains. This really doesn't do anything for me. Thoughts?
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
After that coffin match for TNT Championship, Jack Perry versus Darby. I think Darby wins because it's a coffin match. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think so.
You think the Bucks get involved to help Jack?
No,
Yeah. So hopefully, Darby will take that title from that schmuck. Um, AEW American Championship. We have MJF versus Osprey.
I assume MJF, but it is it is more geared for Osprey to get a win in Wembley, but I think it'll be MJF.
Yeah. I got a weird feeling that they're gonna give Osprey the belt here. I just for some reason, and yeah, I don't know. And I wonder if he goes and does something to like the actual American Championship belt that it continues the feud of like MJ wants to get that belt back, right? Like if he just
I mean,
goes
I mean, they might,
right, like
they
he
could,
just goes and puts
they
something
could.
over it, or
Well, it was the international belt.
yeah,
It only changed because MJF
yeah,
changed it,
right.
right?
So
So
yeah,
they could do it because they did this last year, right? They could just immediately run it back at All Out because All
yeah,
Out's going to be
two
on
weeks
September
later,
7th.
yeah. Which we'll talk about that because I don't know if I like that time frame. Um, the
I think they're changing it next year.
okay, the Bucks versus so this is either the Bucks versus FTR or the Acclaimed. I think the Bucks keep the
I think
titles.
it's I'm pretty sure it's a triple threat now.
Okay. Either way, I think the Bucks
I
keep the
I
titles.
think.
Did you do you think the Bucks drop the
Um
titles?
yeah, I do
Oh,
actually.
you do? To who? To the
Probably FTR.
are you
Probably FTR.
are you tired of the Bucks and FTR yet? Like all these years?
Well, I don't really I don't really watch it enough, so
That's fair.
um
I just get
like
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Um, after that, I mean, are we both in agreement that the best match on this card will probably be MJF and Osprey?
I would think so, yeah.
Agreed. Then we have the TBS Championship, Mercedes versus Britt Baker. Does your
Hmm.
girl bring it home?
Yes, I think so.
Do you think Britt takes it home?
Hmm.
Do you think she looks sloppy in this match? Because I feel like I haven't seen her in.
Um yeah, that's to me that's 50-50. She hasn't really wrestled in forever, so that's probably 50-50.
Um, then we have the FTW Championship, Jericho versus Hook.
I don't care.
I just feel I'm just waiting for the day that we find out Hook signed with WWE, and then I'm like, yes, now we can see what this kid can do. Like that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
And then Casino Gauntlet match. Thoughts? Gonna be cool, gonna be
So
lame.
is it not a so it's not a ladder match anymore, huh?
No, I believe they said that. I could be wrong.
No, yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely a gauntlet match. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd probably be Orange Cassidy. He's the only one in it right now. He'd probably win it.
that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. And then 0 Hour is supposedly Willow Nightingale and Ishia versus Statlander and Stokely Hathaway.
Okay.
That's
That's
what
kind
this
of weird.
says. That's what this says.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. I think if shit is gonna, he's gonna beat the shit out of Stokely. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So I mean, I don't like. That's my fear with. That is my fear with AEW is like, does Shane do a lot? Like, this is what their biggest show of the year. One of their biggest shows of the year is All In at Wembley, right?
It'll be yeah, it's their I think Double or Nothing is supposed to be their like biggest show, but this has taken on just because it's an actual outdoor show,
Yeah,
right? So this is their biggest show as far as like crowd size goes, but I think Double or Nothing is supposed to be their WrestleMania.
yeah, and this is happening the week before Bash at Berlin.
Yeah,
The 25th and Bash in Berlin is the 31st, right?
yeah. And then the 7th right after.
Yeah, yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Did they say like how
Well,
far they're pushing it back, or did they just said a general statement that they're pushing it back?
well, I thought I read that they kind of said that they were stopping this after this year,
Okay.
like a month ago, and then they announced next year's All In already in Texas,
Yes, that was the
and
big announcement, right?
the big
Supposedly.
announcement, and that's in early July. So if they keep all out in September, then it'll be fine because it'll be July to September. So I think that's how they're fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it weird. Like, it's just weird setup to do it 2 weeks out because it's like,
Yeah, the first time I don't know why. Well, I think the first time it was just that's when they could get
yeah,
Wembley,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then they immediately rebooked it the same day, right? Like for a year later, and they had the exact same problem
yep,
again. Maybe they thought they would move all out, and then they couldn't do that, but um, it looks like they're fixing it for next year.
yeah. It's gonna be the Globe Life Field in Arlington to host AEW All In Texas 2025. Um, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly a decent sized venue for them, right? The Rangers play there. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and did you see that they're the actual shirt sponsor for the football team that Tony technically already owns? So that's cool. Probably didn't cost him any money to just combine those two. Um,
Smart.
yeah, I guess. I don't know. Stupid. Um,
It's a smart business
it's
decision.
just stupid. Uh, I don't know. I just I'm frustrated. I think I'm frustrated because I want it to be so good. Because like we know who's over there, right? Like, and it's just I don't know. Like we know who's over there, and it's like, can we just get this together? I don't know.
Not yet. They can't.
How long you think that actually takes for like? just hypothetically, like if you're just ballparking this, right? Like, what do you think has to come together for like an independent wrestling company or just like for a startup wrestling company, right? Because Vince technically didn't have it together until that first WrestleMania, right? That was, if you go back and you read all the books that have been written about it, like that either was gonna bake WWE or that was putting them completely under, right?
Yeah, well, for sure.
So it's
I
like,
mean, right off the bat, the like, not even thinking about wrestling, but like, um, any business, they usually tell you like 5 years before you know whether or not it's going to be good. If you can survive the first
yeah,
five and where you're at 5. Um,
yeah,
so I don't know. It's tough though because just so much is different now, right? Like,
yeah.
um,
Well, and we're still waiting on the TV deal or the streaming lights, right? Like we're still waiting for that to get
yeah,
announced. Still have
yeah.
nothing.
Well, the window has closed for exclusive negotiating rights for Warner Brothers, so I don't know if there are any other suitors, but
I heard,
you know,
I heard Turner is taking True TV and they're turning that into a sports network.
oh really?
Yeah, because of what's
That,
going on with the basketball show, that they're actually turning True TV into a sports network. It
that's
was,
interesting. I wondered why, because they moved Impractical Jokers to TBS from True,
yeah,
so I was wondering why. Although I think it's their last season
yeah,
too,
True, yeah.
but
So
um, that's interesting.
yeah, Disney or Discovery to overhaul True TV with sports, sets nightly block for games and more. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So to use foresee us, I don't know. I don't. So I'm wondering if like the TV rights are through there then,
Um,
because
maybe I mean
they lost
the deal
basketball,
will
right?
be right.
Like they lost basketball.
Well, for now,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
they're
they're suing. We'll see if it works or not.
yeah. I, I I mean, they'll still have. So the new block is expected to launch March 11th, the week prior to the start of the NCAA tournament. Um, and then it says, da, 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 Discovery airs in conjunction with Paramount Global. CBS True TV typically airs the Impractical Jokers, as you said, and it also has aired many of the games in the tournament as well. The series will simulcast on both True TV and TBS through early April, so it looks like it's going to be on both till early April. Um, yeah, I mean, so there's new programs called The Line, which is basically going to be a sports betting show, supposedly live at 6:30. Handles billed as an interactive show that sifts through the top conversations on social media through the NBA games slated to air. Sports, movies, and documentaries will be on there. The NBA Inside the Story. Um, Vodcast with Ernie Johnson, Charles, and Shaq will also appear, as well as a slate of MotoGP races. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see. I mean, I guess you could brand them over there as being part of like the TNT Sports Network now, but like, I don't know if it does anything. Does that do anything for you? Does it make sense? Like,
I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
no, but
Um,
I just don't think it really helps them either way, right? Like,
no, and to be honest, I just really don't watch cable anymore. I really don't.
right,
Like, I will watch whatever. Like, come March Madness, I'm gonna watch whatever channel has it.
right. Whichever
You know,
games
and
that
for
we want to
certain
see.
events, like right. And well, I'll pretty much watch as many as I can, right?
Yep.
Because they're usually good games. But like, but otherwise, like, I'm not really watching. Like, I'm not tuning in outside of wrestling, and that's really only WWE right now. I'm not really tuning in to see anything that's happening, like other than major events, right? Like Olympics, college basketball, NBA playoffs. I watched a little of, obviously
Football
hockey and
star bro.
football,
Yeah.
but I mean, football's on broadcast, right? So, like, with the exception of Monday nights, right? Like, well, I guess in Thursday nights, but you can watch that on Prime now. Like, your Sunday games are going to be on local TV, like whatever game you get, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, eh, I'm not really, you know, I'm not, well, like a great example is Law and Order, right? Like, I just wait till it's available on Peacock and
Yep.
watch it,
Agreed.
right? Like, I don't turn on NBC on Thursday night at 8 o'clock to watch Law and Order live. Um, I can't think of anything. I mean, the only show I used to watch was Impractical Jokers, actually. Like, I used to like to watch because I didn't have a way to watch it after the fact.
Yeah.
So, um, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't even channel surf anymore. Like, I just watch something on the streaming service.
Yeah. I think we
There's just
all
so
do
many
that, right?
options.
I think we all do that.
Right. So,
Besides when we turn in for Raw or like SmackDown tonight, I think that's pretty much,
yeah,
and that's still what sports entertainment as they call it. So like, yeah, I get it. No,
right.
I'm the same way, and I think just with our with the type of remote schedules that we have, it's sometimes easier just to catch up on something during the day if you're piling through a workload or something. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with AEW. I really hope they figure it out. Their AEW is what, 6 years old now? Is it 6 years?
I I think so.
5 years. January 1st, 2019. That's when it was founded.
Oh,
So,
okay. So almost 6 years.
all right. So we're at the 5 year mark, right? Like now it's put up or shut up time. Like it's gonna be soon, right? Like because we still haven't heard about that big Max deal that Tony was talking about. Like we don't know where that ever went, if it's ever happening. Um, True TV, fine. If they're gonna put that into a sports network, fine, but I think that pushes AEW closer to sports entertainment rather than the wrestling that they want to be called. So that's a double edged sword if, it kind of can hurt what you're trying to brand as. Um, and just to recap, I do think Shane does something. I don't know if they can sustain it, and that's my fear. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man, because like they have everybody that you need to have to be successful, right? Like you give Hunter this company, and he's blown off the doors in 2 weeks, whatever, right? Like he's like, but then again, like, is it because they have a designated creative, and it's not just a handful of guys that have just been friends all this time, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like that's so. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So that was AEW the past week and a half or so. I'm gonna try and tune in tonight because I got a weird surge of energy. So I'll see if I enjoy it, like any of it. Probably won't.
Terrible, terrible night to tune in. It's Rampage. Like, how good could it be? Rampage usually isn't that good.
I know, but
Bad night.
I know, Dan. I'll just have it on. Yeah, it's Dick Wayne versus Kip Sabian, top flight, or no, top flight, and is that Nyla Rose? Yeah, it's not great.
Not at all,
Hey, they
actually.
and they're in Norfolk. We drove through there. Um, cool.
Sure did.
So yeah,
Twice.
yeah, yep. Um,
Once probably it's a little bit slower. The second time, a lot faster.
yeah, right. Um,
Ay, ay, ay.
so back to WWE real quick. Did you know Damian Priest and Rhea are now being possibly? Honestly, I'm taking this from multiple sites and a Wikipedia. The Terror Twins.
Did they know what?
That
That
they're
they're calling them that?
she had an
Yeah,
inst.
they started that.
Yeah, back. Yeah. Okay, so it is real.
And she put the TT where she used to have the DM, it now says TT on her face.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know which one of them called themselves that, but they said that early on after getting screwed. Like the very next night on Raw, one of them said it. They're the Terror Twins, which I think is a great gimmick for the two of them.
Yeah.
Like to partner up like that and just wreak havoc for a while out of anger. Like,
Oh yeah. I'm all for it.
yeah,
Yeah, so just to recap at that, right now we currently have just Gunther versus Randy, Cody versus KO, and the Terror Twins versus Judgment Day, I believe. Um, Obviously, there's going to be more to come. More to come. But, yeah, it's going to be... it's going to be something, man. And it's what time? 1 p.m. So yeah, so we can get some pizzas and just chill out on a Saturday for this. And KO, yeah, KO.
yeah.
Did I say that? Yeah, KO. Yep.
On the 85.
Yeah, right. Yeah, on the big 85. So yeah, I mean it's been great for WWE. They had another successful big event, SummerSlam. SmackDown and Raw have continued to be good. This SmackDown card, as I've been watching through the pod, seems to be okay. Honestly, Solo's still to come, I believe. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah, but
It's going to be some sort of face off.
yeah. So, hopefully AEW gets it together. I mean, that's the pain point. I think like we can continue to say about AEW, right? Is like we just hope they stick through it and get it together.
Yeah.
And shout out to Charlie Dempsey for beating Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Heritage Cup. I forgot to mention that earlier. And Chase U, Andre Chase, and Ridge Holland got the tag titles. Can't wait to see who he puts in the hospital next.
I was going to say, did Ridge end anyone's career yet?
They're still doing the MRI scans, Dan. We'll
Okay.
go on Monday when his
Yeah,
insurance
yeah.
provider has to call.
He must. I think he's the one who injured Matt Milano.
yeah. He was just flying through Buffalo, and that's what
He
happened.
showed up to training, right? Showed up to training camp, and all of a sudden somebody has a season-ending injury.
yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, so like I said, season 2, episode 6. Anything else you want to talk about, Dan? Or as you can see, my co-host in the back is getting aggravated.
He's readjusting.
Yeah,
he's like, can we just stop talking? I'm trying to.
Yeah, and there he goes. Yeah.
Look at that side eye. Look at that side eye. Man, he's really good at it.
Oh yeah, he gets passive aggressive.
And now he knows we're talking about him.
Oh yeah. But so I'll have him stay up and watch AEW. I'll get the report
you two
for
enjoy that. Yeah, you two enjoy that. I'm gonna take a pass on Rampage.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But yeah, so we'll hopefully be back the same time next week, Thursday, Friday. That works best, and this will be uploaded this weekend. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe. We are on X, or as the people with an IQ above 5 call it, Twitter, and we are all on Instagram as well. So reach out, but we'll be back. Adios, everybody.